The greatest legacy you'll ever leave isn't what you achieve. It's how the people you love experience your presence. Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions Publishing, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. You guys, I have to share this beautiful cover while I show this to you. I'll tell you the title: Brave Families, the ultimate guide to long-lasting, loving relationships. Quick shout out to Davide DeAngelis, our wonderful cover artist. That beautiful art that he did for this book. Oh my gosh, I love collaborating with all of our authors, our artists, all of our people that come into this. And the big thank you goes to our lead author, Jean Voice Dart. Jean, you had a huge mission and vision for this book, and you came in to lead and gather this stellar group of experts around you for an incredibly profound topic. You will just be, I think, so amazed at the heart and soul that are on these pages, you guys. And Jean, thank you so much for really seeing that vision for this book. We would not be here without you. I have some pretty cool people in my Zoom room today, you guys. Heather Potvin is an experienced, passionate end-of-life doula who can help loved ones pass with grace and peace. Holly Blazina is here. She's the founder of Big Gutsy Life, Gutsy Yoga, and the Gutsy Type Method, helping people unlock the food and mood to heal their gut. Norman Gordon is here with us. He's a life coach, best-selling author, award-winning author, and poet. And Norman, I'm starting with you today. So tell us a little bit of the why behind your chapter.
Thank you so much, Laura. Let me say greetings to everyone. When I think about the experience gained from observing families thriving together through hard times, when I see the way how families get together to develop a legacy, to thrive on a legacy, I say to myself, this is an example. I am Norman Gordon. My chapter is chapter 5, a citation of love, how to build a thriving bond with grandmom. My why is I want to connect with people who are really about forming strong bonds as family. My why is opening others to an experience my grandmom and I developed. My why comes from having the passion to see families doing good things together, irrespective of the hardship they face. Thank you so much.
I read through your beautiful chapter and read the passages about your grandma. I called mine Grams. So my Grams came into my mind as I read your chapter, and I had moments where I was remembering sort of sitting in the kitchen with her. The place of the bond for me was her kitchen. And so that's the Italian side of me, right? That's where the DeFranco comes from. That was Grandma DeFranco. But what I love the most is you help us remember those moments. And for anyone whose grandparent is alive still, you give this big opportunity for us to go back to those places and ask questions and get to know the person behind just grandma, right? What else do you want to tell us about that, Norman?
You know what, Laura? When I reflect on moments with my grandmom, I remember the very first time I made a connection with her. I was about 4 years old. I was going to school, walking to school. My mom when I came home one evening, said to me, my grandmother saw her and said, I saw a young man in his khaki uniform going down the hill behind a gentleman. Now, this gentleman I was traveling behind was about 6 foot two, and I was this tiny little boy. And my grandmother said, each step this man made, the little boy made the steps. And I was trying to figure out which little boy was that. And my grandmom said she speedily, yes, went ahead to see who he was. And she saw that. And she said to my mother, when I looked, it was my grandson. No, yes. So when this brave families, experience came up, that I went back to that memory and it brought back everything. My introduction to the word tithe, as in tithe and offering at church, TITHE, it came from my grandmom because she came to me one Sunday and said, grandson, please write tithe on this. Now, I didn't know how to spell it. And I consulted my dictionary, and right there, that word was deeply entrenched into my system. So she really paved a way for me. And then the hook of this story, that first aspect of it, will indeed open one to how she really touched my life. Imagine someone saying to you as a little boy, climb, I am protecting you. As a little child, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, that is it's such a powerful story, Norman. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to the project. Thanks for being here today and sharing your beautiful story. So, Heather, I'm going to move over to you now and ask you about your why. What's the why behind the chapter that you wrote?
I should think about that one because there's so many emotions that come up when I think about the why. There is a grace and a peace and a very humbling experience that happens when you have the privilege of being with somebody at the end of their life. And of course, the title of my chapter is The Ultimate Gift of Love, helping a loved one pass with peace and grace. For me, that's and I have had the opportunity to be there to help someone pass, help families prepare for the passing of a loved one. I've been able to do that for over 40 years, and that every single time, it's an incredibly humbling, honorable, and blessed experience. It's very, very hard to put those things into words. And if I can help somebody reconcile, have closure, help that person who's getting ready to pass to do that with peace and grace so that their soul can leave without any regret. I think those are my biggest whys.
I think it takes particularly, oh, I don't know. It takes something to do what you do. That's the short of my thought. And there's another level of awareness you have to have. There's another level of presence that you have to have. Can you talk more about that? Like, you didn't just jump into doing that. Like, this was curated over decades, most likely. Tell me about how you're feeling about that.
Honored, very simply put, incredibly honored that I get to do this. And I say get to do this because you're right. It's not something that everybody can do. And sometimes be working with a family and the family members can't, for whatever reason, cannot be present, cannot be there, cannot experience that. And so part of what I do now is help and assist those family members so that they can experience that. The next chapter that I'm assisting with is actually taking all of this and equating that to getting ready to begin to grieve. Um, it's really, really hard to put all of this into words. But if I can help one soul pass with peace and grace, if I can help one family be able to gain that closure, it's incredible. I worked with one family recently, and I'm not sure if it's in the chapter or not. I worked with one family recently where the mom was, she was 94 years old. She was at the end of her life. She was afraid that her grown children, now these are grown children, we're talking about women who are in their 50s, these grown women, she was afraid that they wouldn't be okay. She wanted and needed to stay in order for them to be okay, but her body was starting to shut down. And I worked with her and I worked with the family so that they all had closure. Some of the family was in New York, and I was talking with one of the daughters who was having a really hard time dealing with the fact that her mother was about to transition. And she said to me, she said, "Do you think I need to come?" They were talking about coming out at Thanksgiving, and this was about 3 weeks prior. She said to me, she said, "Do you think I need to come?" And I said to her, "If you don't come now, while your mother is coherent, while you can have conversations with your mother, I can tell you from experience that you're probably going to be dealing with a lot of what ifs and guilt at the end of it. So please come now. Please come, spend time with your mom." And she did. And the family was actually able to reconcile, and it was a wonderful, beautiful, peaceful passing for this woman.
That's an amazing story. That is a huge gift. And and your nudge changed lives. Your nudge to her, come now. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for saying yes to this project, for being here today, for the beautiful, all three of you, all the heart and soul you're putting into these chapters. Holly, I'm going to move over to you. Tell us about the why behind your chapter.
I would say that for me, the why was not at all premeditated. I was just on a call with Jean. We determined that it was great for me to be part of the project. And she said, "So which story are you going to tell?" And this was the one that just popped up. And so I would say that the why for me is because I listen. The why came out of my own listening to what came up, to accepting the call. I actually did not want to do a project. I have enough projects. And yet it was one of those ones that just said, "Come do this." So for me, it was and at moments I would say that I was even reluctant on the project. I had said yes, and I was even reluctant. And I am so glad I did it.
Well, I am too. Um, and you're talking about an important topic that is helping people with the connection of mind and body, right? Where I'm going to give you all a chance to talk a little bit more about the master teachings and tools that you're putting into the book. But um, when we can help somebody connect their pain to the emotion, then that's a huge gift. Is there some little teaser you want to tell us about that?
Sure. One of the things that was, well, one of the things that I work with people, of course, I work with people's guts and their digestion, but one of the main teachings that I that I share with my audience, with my clients, is that the way we digest life is the way we digest food. And so what was really profound for me in this experience was that at the same time that I said yes, I was working with I would call it a freezing shoulder. And after I said yes, it became a frozen shoulder. And over the time of the writing and, you know, that whole process, it's now moved into the stage of being a thawing shoulder. So that, and I don't really talk about that very much. I reference it and I mention it in the story in my chapter, but you know, for me, it was very much a process of living, like walking my own talk, living my own message. So yeah, just I'm not sure what else to say about that, but
Oh, those frozen shoulders, I tell you. My
yeah,
goodness.
it's quite something. And it really does relate to digestion, you know, it's a nervous system thing. And yeah, and it was you know, we teach what we most need to learn is what I can say.
Always. Well, so huge thank you to all three of you for really taking on my challenge to put that vulnerable story in the book and help people get to know you, get to really know, love, and trust you, right? As an author and a storyteller and the experts that you are. And then in that second part of the chapter with your master teachings, this book is such an incredible gift. If people are in the topic of relationships, having some struggles, this really is an ultimate guide. It is what it says. And imagine having this many people on your side to answer these questions and give you these ideas. And this book is a complete gift. So I thank all of you for being a part of it. Transformation like this takes awareness, and I will talk about awareness forever. With awareness, we have a choice. Heather, when it comes to your family and relationships, what has been your practice of awareness? What does that look like? Give us an example of something that it has helped you.
Probably for me, the most pivotal moment was when I was in my 40s and I sat down and had a conversation with my mother. I my and I think I shared this part briefly in the book. My mother had a very difficult life, and of course, as a child, you don't know that. My parents were very good at kind of keeping that part hidden. It was not a wonderful, loving family relationship, and so I grew up with walls and boundaries and all of those kinds of things. And so in my 40s, I went and had a conversation with my mother. And I asked her some very pointed questions about her life and her perspective on a lot of things because I wanted to understand why it was growing up that that love and warmth that I saw in other homes was not present in mine. What's really interesting is all of that came full circle when it was time for my mother to pass. Now, my mother was an incredibly strong woman, very independent, um, very career driven at a time in you know history where it wasn't a big thing for women to be career driven. Because she was an incredibly strong woman, she always knew that she didn't want to be one of those frail um, people, and that's what happened with my mother. Dementia set in, and in her last days, and I don't know if I elaborated on that in my chapter, but when I went and saw her, I saw this teeny tiny frail woman, and this thing right deep down here in my heart chakra went, this isn't what she wants. This is not what she had wanted. And that was part of our conversation when I had met with her when I was in my 40s. And I knew at that moment that the situation my mother was in at the end of her life was not what she wanted. And so part of again being a doula, understanding and realizing the dynamic of somebody whose soul is getting ready to transition. I put aside everything that I had felt growing up, and all I felt was love and compassion for my mother. And I had a conversation with her over the phone after, you know, after I had left Canada. I had a conversation with her on the phone so that she could make peace with her religious faith, so that she could make peace with God. And very shortly, about 24 hours after that, she actually passed away, and they said she passed away very peacefully.
Beautiful story. Thank you for that. Oh my gosh. So this kind of awareness is other level. This is big potatoes stuff to me. You all are sharing these moments that are going to affect people's future lives, which I think is pretty amazing. Holly, I'm coming to you with this awareness question now. Give us an example of that practice, something that's helped you.
So one of like the tool that I share in the book is the cocoon of light. And this is something where I've been doing, if not this, then something very similar to it for several decades now. And I do it multiple times a day. I do it usually every time before I come on to, especially if I'm teaching, I put I use that cocoon of light to put myself in it, to create my own intention for what I'm offering, to set the stage and set the space for the others who are coming into it. And I just believe it is one of the most healing spaces one can create for oneself. And one of the things that I think is so important about it as well, and I do discuss this in my chapters, that affirmations, we live in this time where we're just, oh, affirmations about this and that. And so many of them are, it's like putting on somebody else's shoes. And the most powerful affirmations that come to us are the ones that come to us in that light space. Those are the ones that actually resonate with us. Those are the ones that can heal us. And when we let go of things in that space and bring in new things in that space, that's where transformation can truly happen. And so I spend a lot of moments, and maybe not necessarily a lot of time, but a lot of moments in that light space on a daily basis. And when I work with clients, we spend a lot of time in that light space, because that's where truth is revealed to us, and truth is revealed about us. That's where permission is given. So yeah, I would say that's an area where I can say I walk my talk.
I love that. Yes, that space of light. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love what you said about affirmations coming from that space. They've come from outside sources all over the place, and we try to adopt them in, but if we're having them if we curate them from that light space, that is a whole nother ball game.
Well, indeed. I mean, we can't create that kind of transformation. We can't left brain our way through that kind of healing.
That's a good quote. I might have to write that one down.
Yeah.
Thank you, Holly. Okay, Norman, I'm going to come over to you with this question about awareness. When it comes to your relationships, what's that practice been for you? Give us an example of what's helped you.
The road, that first part of the road, that's where I am coming from aspect of life, the origin of my being. The road was prepared by my grandmom. The baton was passed on to my parent. And it came to me. Now, when I look at that, I had to make a decision to honor that path. And those persons who were there before, it makes sense, celebrate them. I want to make this connection with my grandparents and parents that will have me understanding my being even more. This is it. I love myself a lot. They caused me to love myself. I sprung from them. And let me just go to this. I remember when I approached my mom and dad, this thought came to me. Irrespective of what took place in the past, that's an experience that was created. They created a jewel in this world, and I'm going to make sure I make them proud. But I don't want to make them proud by just doing things for me. I had to go to them to reconnect and to have the wealth from our souls, yes, flowing in tandem with each other. My awakening is from the gem within their souls to have created this gem. I looked at my grandma, and that's my story. And you know, when I looked at her being, when I thought about my life, I saw good in me. And obviously, the person who brought me here, there must be some aspects of good in that person. So I continue to look at the beautiful things within them that allow them to bring forth this beautiful being. And every day I live with that because as a life coach, that's what I do for clients as well. You have clients whose parents are deceased, other loved ones are deceased, and they want to really make a connection with their path, a connection with the past as well that is not as painful as the present, and to have them living in a world of soothe and warmth. We have to go back and just make a connection with the beautiful being their parents created. These things flow through me every day. Thanks for this question, Laura.
Mm, I love that answer, Norman. Thank you. All right, I want to give all three of you a little more chance to kind of move into your master teachings. Let's see where this brings us. Holly, what's the most important thing you want us to know about digesting those old emotions? I'm taking this from your chapter title, and you're really linking this to getting out of pain.
I think the body speaks to us. And I think like one of the things that is so up for me right now is that in our cultural conversation, we're talking so much about regulation. And it's as though we're trying to regulate our nervous system into submission.
I'm so glad
And
you brought this up like this, because I so resonate with what you just said. It is everywhere, right? Everywhere.
no.
Yeah.
And I've used that language in my messaging and I'm stopping because I also think that an emphasis needs to be put on the idea of feeling to heal and going inward, feeling that call, going where it takes you, going where you don't want to go so that you can go where you do want to go.
Yes,
So,
really, really important. I mean, so, feeling is healing, and we have a lot of tools and a lot of things to help people feel better. But when I talk about this and just my background in holistic physical therapy, which is a good 3 decades of my life, we always had to remind people that we weren't going to just jump over to the joy or jump over to the pain free, like you have to move through some feelings, some things, and people are so afraid to go there, don't want to, been taught not to, just don't want to cry. I mean, honestly, sometimes it's just that's the day. It's like I don't want to have to feel that, that awful feeling. But really, we look at that, and if we would just realize that if we give ourselves full permission to feel everything, we're going to be moving through so much faster than we think. All that
100%.
resistance. Oh,
100%. I mean, if you want to feel better, you have to feel all of it.
yeah. 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 I love, oh my gosh. So I hope you all dive into this book, these chapters. Norman, I'm coming to you. I want to hear about yours too. What's the most important thing you want us to know about building that thriving bond with our loved one?
Building that thriving bond with our loved one is something amazing. Let us go right here. Look at the pain. Look at what the pain did to you. You want to move yourself away from the pain, so you revisit the pain. Now, when you get to the point where healing takes place, it is so wonderful. And that's where full thriving begins. And I want to say, things were not always wonderful with family members, but what didn't go in a wonderful way allowed us to transform into the most beautiful beings. And that's so amazing. And I want to say, looking at my family, especially my grandmom, she deserves to be honored. She's deceased. May her dear soul rest in peace and light perpetually shine upon her face. While they are living, see how best you can make a connection. And I did that. I remember on her hospital bed, a part of one of her leg was severed through diabetes. And I remember having gone there. And I remember about 13 years before that when she said, "When I die, I want you to read my eulogy." And that brought me closer to her. It had me saying to myself, she really loves me. And that had me doing even more for her. So remembering that moment or those moments when your life was fully touched by that individual or those individuals, they help you along the path that thrives even more than before. And that's what do it for me. Remember something about them that touched you and use it as a platform to do everything good for them, to make that connection that's meaningful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Norman. Heather, for you, what's the most important thing you want us to know about assisting our loved one to pass with peace and grace?
Before I answer that, I want to say something about what Norman just said. A lot of what you just said really resonates with being able to help a loved one pass with peace and grace. Very, very touching, very moving. So, adding on to that, being present is probably the single most important thing that you can do for a loved one who's getting ready to pass, whether they're aging out, whether they're passing from a terminal illness, whether it's dementia, whatever it is, having that relationship and connection with them, healing the old wounds, even if it is in those last moments. That's what happened with my father. The relationship with him was incredibly tumultuous. But on his deathbed, we sat and I said things that needed to be said, not for him, but for my release at that moment. And what happened was it gave him the release that he needed also in those moments, healing those old wounds. for those of us who aren't lucky enough to have great relationships with either our parents or our grandparents. But I think being present, experiencing, allowing the process to happen, embracing the process itself, and giving them the opportunity to make their own peace. So again, that their soul can pass with peace and grace.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh my gosh, all of you. What golden nuggets of beautiful awareness. There's so many more in the book as well. Thank you all, Heather, Holly, Norman. Thank you so much for what you do in the world. Thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. If you can't already tell, this is way more than a book, you guys. This is a generous community of amazing people and experts. If something that they said today gave you the goosebumps or resonated, maybe you have a question or you need support, come on down into the show notes. Everybody is hooked up there with their websites and their links, and you can reach out and they are there for you to answer those questions. Maybe carry on the conversation from today. Of course, we would love for you to grab your copy of this beautiful book, Brave Families. And so I have the link down below for that as well. And lastly, today, everyone, remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.